The dream returned again, as it had for the past 342 nights. Commander Elias Novak floated through violet mist, reaching toward a figure bathed in starlight. Her silhouette was unmistakable, tall and graceful, with a crown of crystalline formations rising from her head. Her skin shimmered with a soft purple luminescence. In the dream she reached back, but their fingertips never quite met, separated by an invisible barrier that felt paper-thin yet impossibly vast. "Who are you?" he whispered into the cosmic void. The navigation alarm jolted Elias awake. His survey vessel, the cartographer, was shuddering violently. The control panel flashed red warnings as the ship plummeted toward an uncharted planet, a glittering sphere of crystal formations and swirling lavender clouds. "Computer, emergency protocols." "Stabilize!" Elias commanded, his hands flying over the controls. Unable to comply. "Gravitational anomaly detected. Prepare for emergency landing." The AI responded with maddening calm. Elias strapped himself in, gripping the manual controls. "Come on, old girl. Just one more landing." The cartographer screamed through the atmosphere, heat blazing around the hull. Elias had survived 3 wars and 12 crash landings, but something about this felt different. The same pull that had haunted his dreams seemed to be physically drawing his ship down, not toward destruction, but toward something else. The impact came with a deafening crunch. Elias's head slammed against the restraints and darkness swept over him. When consciousness returned, it came with a curious sensation, cool fingers tracing his forehead. Elias opened his eyes to see the impossible. The woman from his dreams leaning over him. Her skin was indeed a soft purple, luminous in the dim light. Her eyes, entirely silver with no visible pupils, studied him with a mixture of curiosity and recognition. "You've arrived," she said, her voice melodic and resonant, as if speaking through crystal. "I've been waiting." Elias tried to sit up, wincing at the pain in his ribs. He was no longer in his ship, but in some sort of chamber with walls of transparent crystal. Outside, spires of similar material reached toward a sky where 3 moons hung in formation. "Where am I? Who are you?" he managed. "I am Lyra, daughter of the Luminary High Council. You're on Nixara." She tilted her head, silver eyes unblinking. "But you already knew that, didn't you?" "In your dreams," Elias stared, mouth dry. "How could you possibly know about my dreams?" "Because I shared them." Lyra extended her hand, 5 slender fingers with the same purple hue as the rest of her skin. "May I?" Hesitantly, Elias reached out. When their fingertips touched, a jolt of electricity ran up his arm. Suddenly, he was seeing himself through her eyes, a strange being with pale skin and curious blue eyes. He felt her fascination, her wonder, and underneath it all a loneliness that mirrored his own. The connection broke as Lyra pulled away, her silver eyes wide. "What was that?" Elias whispered. "The astral thread," she replied. "Rare even among my people, almost unheard of between species. Our souls recognize each other across the void." Footsteps echoed outside. Lyra rose gracefully. "The others come. They won't understand this connection. Many fear humans. Your wars and expansion have created concerns." She moved toward the doorway, her flowing garment catching the light like liquid moonstone. "Rest. I'll return when the moons align." That night, Elias stood at the crystal window of his chamber, watching the strange constellations of an alien sky. The 3 moons inched closer together, and as they aligned, the door to his chamber slid open. Lyra entered, her presence immediately filling the room with a subtle luminescence. "Can you walk?" she asked. "I think so." Elias took a tentative step forward, ribs still aching. "Come," she said, offering her hand. "There's something you need to see." Against all protocol and probably his better judgment, Elias took her hand. This time, prepared for the connection, he breathed through the initial shock as their emotions intertwined. Together they slipped through corridors of crystal until they emerged onto a balcony overlooking a vast city of light and geometry, stretching beneath the triple moonlight. "This is Nixara," Lyra said softly, "and it's been calling to you just as you've been calling to it." Dawn on Nixara arrived not with the familiar yellow light of Earth's sun, but with a prismatic cascade that filtered through the crystal spires, bathing the world in rainbow hues. Elias sat cross-legged on the floor of his chamber, attempting to process everything Lyra had shown him during their midnight excursion. The Luminari weren't merely inhabitants of this crystalline world. They were intrinsically connected to it. Each crystal formation resonated with their emotional frequencies, storing memories and dreams like organic data drives. Lyra had shown him how to place his palm against the walls and feel the subtle vibrations of countless lives and stories pulsing beneath the surface. A soft chime announced Lyra's arrival. She entered, bearing a shallow bowl of luminescent liquid. "Our healers prepared this for your injuries," she explained, kneeling beside him. "It will accelerate your body's natural processes." Elias accepted the bowl. "Thank you. Your people are being surprisingly accommodating to a crashed alien." Lyra's lips curved in what he was beginning to recognize as a smile. Not all would agree. "The High Council has been in session since your arrival, debating what your presence means and what does it mean." Elias raised an eyebrow. "That depends on what you were doing in our star system," she countered. "Your vessel carries mapping equipment. Are you a scout for human expansion?" Elias shook his head. "I'm a cartographer, yes, but I work independently. I map uncharted regions and sell the data to various clients, scientists, researchers, occasionally traders looking for new routes." He paused. "Though I admit I had no intention of coming here. Your planet doesn't appear on any charts I've seen, because we don't wish to be found." Lyra's silver eyes studied him. "Nixara exists in a fold of spacetime. Those who find us are either brought here by purpose or by destiny." Elias sipped the liquid, surprised by its pleasant taste of honey and starlight. "I'm not sure I believe in destiny. And yet you dreamed of me before we met." The liquid warmed Elias from within, spreading to his injured ribs with a tingling sensation. "Those dreams, they started almost a year ago. I thought I was losing my mind." Lyra extended her hand, palm up. "Show me." This time Elias didn't hesitate. Their fingers intertwined, and the now familiar rush of connection flooded between them. He focused on the dreams, the purple mist, the reaching figure, the yearning that had followed him into his waking hours. Through their link, he felt Lyra's surprise and wonder. "You've been calling me across the stars," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly, "and I've been answering." When she attempted to withdraw her hand, Elias gently tightened his grip. "Wait, show me your side." Lyra hesitated, then nodded. The vision shifted, and suddenly Elias was experiencing her memories, standing in the temple of resonance, placing her hands on an ancient crystal that hummed with cosmic energy. Night after night she had returned to this temple, reaching through space toward a presence she couldn't name but somehow recognized. They separated slowly, both breathless from the intensity of shared consciousness. "The astral thread," Lyra explained, her voice hushed, "typically forms between luminari who are destined to be life partners. It allows for perfect understanding, perfect harmony, but between different species." She trailed off, her expression troubled. "Has it happened before?" Elias asked. "Once, many generations ago, a luminari and a being from the Terran collective." Her eyes dropped. "It nearly destroyed both worlds." A heavy silence fell between them, broken by the sound of approaching footsteps. Lyra stood quickly, smoothing her flowing garment. "The High Council summons you," she said, her tone suddenly formal. "They'll have questions. Answer truthfully, but—" She hesitated. "Say nothing of our connection. Some would see it as a threat." The High Council chambers were a masterpiece of crystalline architecture, a perfect dome with 7 thrones arranged in a semicircle. 6 were occupied by luminari elders whose skin ranged from the palest lavender to the deepest violet. The 7th, slightly elevated above the others, remained empty. Lyra led Elias to the center of the chamber, then moved to stand beside the empty throne. "Honored Council, I present Commander Elias Novak of Earth, whose vessel crashed on the northern Shard lands." The eldest council member, his skin a deep purple etched with luminescent patterns, leaned forward. "Human, explain your presence in protected space." Elias straightened his back, falling into the formal posture of his military days. "My presence was unintentional. I was charting the neighboring star system when my ship encountered an anomaly that pulled me into your orbit." "Curious," remarked a younger council member. "Our shields have never failed in such a manner." "Perhaps they didn't fail," Lyra suggested quietly. "Perhaps they recognized him as no threat." The elder's eyes narrowed. "Or perhaps human technology has advanced to bypass our defenses." He turned to Elias. "You will remain under observation until your intentions are verified. Princess Lyra, as you found him, he remains your responsibility." Elias blinked in surprise. Princess Lyra nodded solemnly. I accept this duty, Elder Theron. As they exited the chamber, Elias whispered, You didn't mention you were royalty. It seemed irrelevant to our connection, she replied, a hint of mischief in her silver eyes. Does it change how you see me? Before Elias could answer, a tall figure blocked their path. His purple skin was darker than Lyra's, almost indigo, and adorned with crystalline implants along his temples. Princess, he said, bowing slightly while his eyes remained fixed on Elias. I see our unexpected visitor is mobile. Varen, Lyra acknowledged coolly. Yes, Commander Novak is recovering well. How fortunate. Varen's smile didn't reach his eyes. The Council has granted me permission to examine the human's vessel. Perhaps I'll discover what truly brought him to our world. As he strode away, Elias felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ambient temperature. Friend of yours? Varen is chief of security and my father's favored choice for my future consort, Lyra explained, her voice carefully neutral. He has concerns about outside influences. I see. Elias felt an unexpected pang of disappointment. And what do you think of his concerns? Lyra glanced around to ensure they were alone, then took his hand. The connection formed instantly, and Elias was flooded with her emotions. Frustration, defiance, and underneath it all, a growing warmth when she thought of him. Does that answer your question? She asked softly. The Temple of Resonance stood apart from the main city, perched on a cliff overlooking an ocean of liquid crystal that flowed like mercury beneath Nyxara's 3 moons. For the past week, Elias had accompanied Lyra here each night, ostensibly to learn more about luminary culture, but in reality to explore the deepening bond between them. Tonight the temple was empty save for them. In its center stood the Heartstone, a massive crystal formation that pulsed with its own inner light, responding to the emotions of those nearby. As Elias approached, the crystal shifted from its normal blue radiance to a curious blend of blue and amber. It recognizes you now, Lyra observed, her silver eyes reflecting the crystal's light. It's never responded to an outsider before. Elias reached out, hesitating just above the crystal's surface. What exactly does it do? It serves many purposes: historical record, teaching tool, communication device. But for those with an astral thread, she placed her purple hand next to his, not quite touching. It can strengthen and clarify the connection. Their eyes met, a silent question passing between them. With a small nod from Elias, they both pressed their palms against the crystal's smooth surface. The world dissolved around them. No longer were they simply sharing emotions or surface thoughts. They were experiencing a complete melding of consciousness. Elias saw Lyra's childhood, felt her first moments of connection with the crystalline consciousness of her world. He relived her frustration at the weight of royal expectations, her secret rebellions, her lonely quest for something beyond the prescribed path. In turn, Lyra experienced his life among the stars, the wonder of new discoveries balanced against the solitude of deep space. She felt his brief failed relationships, his growing disillusionment with Earth politics, and the nameless yearning that had drawn him ever outward. When they finally broke contact, both were trembling. Tears of luminescent silver traced paths down Lyra's cheeks. Now you know me completely, she whispered. Elias reached up, gently brushing away a tear with his thumb. And you know me. What happens now? She asked, her voice barely audible. Instead of answering with words, Elias leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he pressed his lips to hers in a gentle kiss. The contact sent sparks of energy cascading through his body, as if every cell was suddenly alive with starlight. Lyra's arms encircled him, her body fitting against his as if designed for this exact purpose. The Heartstone pulsed brighter, its light shifting through spectrums visible and invisible, casting rainbow shadows across the temple walls. Neither noticed the figure watching from the shadows, his indigo features hardened with barely contained fury. Dawn arrived with chaos. Elias was awakened by alarms echoing through the crystal corridors, their pitch hurting his human ears. He barely had time to dress before his chamber door slid open to reveal a grim-faced luminary guard. The High Council demands your presence, the guard announced. Elias was escorted not to the council chamber but to a vast observation platform overlooking the sky. There, the council members stood in formation with Lyra among them, her posture rigid with tension. In the sky above, a familiar sight made Elias's heart sink. An Earth Confederation vessel, its sleek black hull emblazoned with the golden sunburst of the Exploration Division. Elder Theron turned to him, silver eyes cold. "You claim to be alone, human?" I was," Elias insisted. "That's not my ship." "No," came a new voice. "It's mine." A woman strode onto the platform, her Earth Confederation uniform pristine. Commander Maya Santos, Elias's former superior officer and briefly lover. Her dark eyes swept over him assessingly before turning to the assembled luminari. "I apologize for the intrusion," she said with practiced diplomacy. "We've been tracking Commander Novak's vessel since it disappeared from our sensors 3 standard weeks ago." 3 weeks? Elias whispered, shocked. On Nixara, he'd experienced only 8 days. Maya continued smoothly. "On behalf of Earth Confederation, I request permission to retrieve our citizen and establish formal diplomatic contact with your world." "This planet is under protection of the Luminari Accords," Elder Theron replied. "We do not seek diplomatic relations." Maya's smile remained fixed. "With all due respect, Elder, the political landscape has changed. The discovery of previously unknown sentient species requires formal registration with the Galactic Council, especially species with advanced capabilities." Elias recognized the predatory gleam in Maya's eyes, the same look she'd had when discovering particularly valuable resources on frontier worlds. He stepped forward. "Maya, this isn't a mining operation. The Luminari have a sophisticated civilization that predates our own. Commander Novak no longer speaks for Earth Confederation," Maya said sharply, not looking at him. "His commission was terminated after his unauthorized departure from Outpost Sigma." Elias felt Lyra's questioning gaze but couldn't meet her eyes. Another piece of his past he hadn't shared even in their deepest connection. "How many ships do you have beyond our sensor range, Commander Santos?" asked Varen, stepping onto the platform. His voice was smooth but carried an undercurrent of menace. Maya's expression flickered briefly. "We come in peace. You come with 3 battle cruisers holding position behind Nixara's second moon," Varen countered. "Our sensors may be calibrated differently from yours, but they are quite effective." The tension on the platform thickened. Elias glanced between Lyra and Maya, suddenly understanding that he stood at the fulcrum of a potentially devastating conflict. "Perhaps," Lyra said, breaking her silence, "we should continue this discussion more privately. Commander Santos, you and your delegation are welcome to rest after your journey." Maya inclined her head, a calculated gesture of respect that didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you, Princess." As the group moved inside, Varen caught Elias's arm. "Your people come seeking something," he hissed. "What do they know?" "Nothing," Elias insisted. "I sent no communications." "Then how did they find us?" Varen's grip tightened. "The same way you did, perhaps?" "Through her?" Elias pulled free. "What are you suggesting?" Varen's eyes flicked toward Lyra, who was leading Maya toward the reception chambers. "The astral thread isn't merely emotional, Commander. It creates quantum entanglement. Every moment you've spent deepening that connection has been like setting a beacon for your kind to follow." "That's impossible," Elias whispered, though a sickening doubt was forming in his stomach. "Is it?" Varen's expression held something almost like pity. "Ask yourself why your people arrived just hours after you and our princess finally consummated your bond at the Heartstone." He stalked away, leaving Elias frozen in place, watching as the 2 women who represented his past and his possible future disappeared into the palace, trailing destiny behind them like a comet's tail. The diplomatic reception hall of the Luminari Palace glittered with uneasy tension. Elias stood apart from both delegations, painfully aware of his unique position, neither fully aligned with Earth nor accepted among the Luminari. Maya and her team sat at one end of the crystalline table, while Elder Theron and the High Council occupied the other. Lyra sat beside her father, the empty throne, her expression carefully neutral despite the turmoil Elias knew she must be feeling. "Our scans indicate unusual energy signatures throughout your planet," Maya was saying, her tone professionally curious, though Elias recognized the predatory interest beneath. "Similar to quantum crystalline structures we've encountered, but far more advanced." "Our world's composition is not relevant to this discussion," Elder Theron replied. "What concerns us is your military presence in a protected sector. Maya smiled thinly. Standard procedure when recovering personnel from unknown territory. Commander Novak is a valuable asset. Elias caught Lyra's gaze briefly across the room. Through their connection, he felt her silent question. Was I just part of your mission? He shook his head slightly, trying to convey the truth. Whatever had drawn him to Nixara, whatever had connected him to Lyra, it wasn't calculation or duty. It was something far more profound. If I may, Varen interjected, stepping forward from the shadows where he'd been observing. Our security scans of the human vessel reveal it was transmitting coordinates on a quantum frequency, one that precisely matches the resonance of our planetary shields. Maya's expression hardened. That's impossible. Our ships don't have that capability, don't they? Varen produced a small device that projected a holographic display of technical specifications. Elias recognized the prototype quantum resonator that Earth's military division had been developing. This component was found in Commander Novak's navigation system. All eyes turned to Elias. He stepped forward, confusion evident. That's not standard equipment. My ship was retrofitted before my last mission, but I was told it was simply an upgraded navigation system. A convenient explanation, Varen noted. Elder Theron's eyes narrowed. Were you aware, Commander, that this device's frequency matches not only our shields, but also the precise resonance of the royal bloodline? A cold realization washed over Elias. I was being used as a tracking device, he murmured, the pieces falling into place. They knew about the luminary, about the resonance frequency. His eyes met Maya's. You knew? Maya's composure slipped momentarily. The luminary have technology that could change the balance of power throughout the galaxy. We simply needed a way past their defenses. And you used me. Elias felt sick. You were always drawn to the stars, Elias, Maya said, almost gently. We just gave your wanderlust direction. The crystal walls around them began to pulse with an angry red light, responding to the emotions flooding the room. Lyra stood suddenly, her silver eyes flashing. You planted a device that would resonate specifically with me, she demanded, her voice vibrating with controlled fury. You used his dreams, his mind as a weapon against us? Maya remained unfazed. Not a weapon. A key. Without warning, the crystal floor beneath them trembled. Fracture lines appeared, spreading outward from where Lyra stood. Glowing with intense light, the Luminary Council members rose in alarm. Princess, your emotions are affecting the Matrix, Elder Theron warned. Lyra seemed beyond hearing, her focus entirely on Elias. Through their bond, he felt her sense of betrayal, confusion, and underneath it all, a devastating heartbreak that mirrored his own. Lyra, please, he began, stepping toward her. I didn't know. A blast of energy erupted between them, throwing Elias backward. The crystal walls groaned, more fractures spreading throughout the structure. Varen rushed to Lyra's side, supporting her as she swayed. The astral thread has become unstable, he announced, his voice carrying above the growing chaos. The human presence is threatening our entire matrix. Maya was already speaking into her communicator. Santos to fleet. Prepare for emergency extraction. Elder Theron rose to his full height, his ancient face set in grim lines. Commander Novak must leave immediately. His presence is destabilizing the princess and, through her, our entire crystalline network. No, Elias protested, struggling to his feet. Lyra, we can control this. We can— You've done enough, Varen cut him off. Each moment you remain puts our entire civilization at risk. Elias looked desperately to Lyra, whose luminescence was fluctuating wildly, her silver eyes now streaked with amber, the color of his own life force. She was absorbing his human emotions, and her luminary physiology couldn't process them. Elias, she whispered, her voice distorted by pain. You have to go. Another tremor shook the palace. Crystal fragments began falling from the ceiling. Maya grabbed Elias's arm. We're leaving. Now. As Maya dragged him toward the exit, Elias locked eyes with Lyra one final time. In that gaze, they shared everything words couldn't express: regret, longing, and a love that had barely begun before being torn apart. The last thing he saw before the transporter beam enveloped him was Lyra, collapsing into Varen's arms, the purple luminescence of her skin dimming to a dull lavender. 3 months later, Elias sat in his sterile apartment on Earth's lunar colony, staring out at the stark landscape of the moon's surface. He'd been debriefed, evaluated, and ultimately, released from service with a generous severance package and a firm warning never to speak of Nixara or the luminary. Earth's government had officially designated the crystal planet as restricted space, citing environmental instability. Elias knew the truth. They were still trying to find a way past the strengthened shields that had gone up after his departure. His dreams had stopped. Where once he had floated through purple mist reaching for a luminous figure, now there was only darkness. The silence in his mind where Lyra's presence had briefly flourished felt like a physical wound that wouldn't heal. A chime from his communication panel broke his reverie. "Package for you, Commander," announced the automated system. Elias frowned. He rarely received physical deliveries. Except. The delivery slot hummed, producing a small box made of material he immediately recognized. Nixaran crystal, though dulled and opaque without the living energy that normally flowed through it. His heart racing, Elias opened it to find a single shard of crystal and a note written in flowing script. The Heartstone remembers. 3 moons, full alignment. The temple awaits. It was unsigned, but Elias knew. He pressed the crystal shard between his palms and closed his eyes. For a brief, glorious moment he felt it, the faintest whisper of connection, a silver thread across the void. With hands that trembled only slightly, Elias began packing a small bag. He knew a smuggler who could get him past the blockade. It would cost everything he had, but some prices were worth paying. As night fell over the lunar colony, a small, unmarked ship slipped away from the docking bay, its course set for the stars. The smuggler's ship was a patchwork of salvaged parts and questionable modifications, but it had one critical feature: a cloaking device reverse-engineered from Centaurian technology. As they approached the restricted zone surrounding Nixara, Elias held his breath, watching the scanner for signs of Earth Confederation patrols. "Relax, Commander," drawled Captain Sarah Lynn, her weathered face illuminated by the console lights. "This isn't my first blockade run." "Former Commander," Elias corrected automatically. "And this isn't a normal blockade. The ships patrolling this sector have quantum detection arrays," Sarah snorted. "And I have countermeasures that would make your military-trained brain short-circuit. Now sit back and let me earn my ridiculous fee." True to her word, Sarah navigated the patrol grid with uncanny precision, slipping through gaps in the sensor network that Elias wouldn't have believed existed. As they entered Nixaran space, he clutched the crystal shard that had guided him back, its formerly dull surface now glowing with increasing brightness. "There," he said, pointing to a landmass visible through the viewport. "The northern continent near those mountain formations." Sarah whistled low. "Pretty place. Shame about the welcoming committee." Elias followed her gaze to where 3 luminary vessels had appeared, surrounding their ship in a perfect triangle formation. Their crystalline hulls pulsed with warning lights. "Unidentified vessel," came a voice over the comm system. "You have entered protected space. Power down and prepare to be escorted to the surface." Sarah shot Elias a dark look. "You said they'd be friendly." "I said they wouldn't shoot us immediately," he corrected, reaching for the communication panel. "This is Elias Novak requesting permission to approach the Temple of Resonance. I've been invited." A long pause followed. Elias held the crystal shard up to the view screen, hoping its significance would be recognized. Finally, the comm crackled. "Follow our escort precisely. Any deviation will be considered hostile action." The journey to the surface passed in tense silence. As they landed on a crystal platform near the temple, Elias turned to Sarah. "Wait here. If I'm not back in 24 hours, I'll be gone in 12, she interrupted flatly. "No offense, but no passenger is worth tangling with this level of security." Elias nodded, understanding. "Thank you for getting me this far." Stepping out onto the crystalline surface of Nixara after months away felt like coming home. The air carried the familiar scent of mineral and light, and the triple moons hung low on the horizon. Approaching the alignment mentioned in the message, a luminary escort waited at the platform's edge. Not the royal guard he had expected, but a small group of hooded figures. Their leader stepped forward, pushing back her hood to reveal a face Elias didn't recognize. Her purple skin was paler than Lyra's, marked with age lines that glowed with inner light. "I am Celine, keeper of the temple," she said. "You return at great risk, human." "I received a message," Elias explained, showing her the crystal shard. Celine's silver eyes widened slightly. The Heartstone fragment. So it's true. She gestured for him to follow. We must hurry. The alignment begins soon. As they approached the temple, Elias noticed changes. The once pristine structure now showed signs of damage, with fracture lines running through its crystalline walls. Inside, the great chamber felt eerily empty compared to his memories of it. What happened here? He asked, his voice echoing. When you departed, the princess fell ill, Celine explained, leading him toward the central chamber where the Heartstone stood. The astral thread, once formed, cannot be severed without consequence. Her life force began to dim, and with it the resonance of our matrix weakened. Guilt twisted in Elias's stomach. I never wanted to hurt her. Intentions matter little in the face of cosmic forces, Celine replied, though her tone held no accusation. The High Council tried everything to restore her. In desperation, they even agreed to her union with Varen, hoping his strong connection to the Matrix might stabilize her. Elias felt a pang of jealousy, quickly followed by concern. Did it work? See for yourself. Celine gestured toward the chamber ahead. The Heartstone chamber was transformed. Where once a single crystal formation had stood, now the entire room was filled with crystalline growths, all pulsing with chaotic, misaligned energies. In the center knelt Lyra, her once vibrant purple skin now almost translucent, the luminescence barely visible. Beside her stood Varen, his hand on her shoulder, his expression grim as he looked up at Elias's entrance. You shouldn't have come back, Varen said. Though the expected hostility was replaced by something like resignation, Lyra raised her head slowly. Her silver eyes, now streaked with dull gray, widened at the sight of Elias. You received my message, she whispered. Elias rushed forward only to be stopped by an invisible barrier several feet from her. What's happening to you? He demanded, pressing his hands against the unseen wall. The astral thread cannot be severed, but it can be contained, Varen explained, gesturing to the crystalline growths. These structures are attempting to isolate the connection, to prevent it from affecting our entire world. But they're failing. I don't understand, Elias said. Lyra struggled to her feet, Varen supporting her with surprising gentleness. What they didn't tell you, what they didn't tell either of us, is that the astral thread has appeared before, many times throughout history. Always between a luminary and an outsider, always during the Great Alignment. She gestured upward, where a crystalline dome revealed the 3 moons moving into perfect alignment overhead. The thread isn't an accident or a cosmic mistake, she continued. It's purposeful, a bridge between worlds that forms when the universe requires balance. Varen's expression was solemn. Our historians discovered the truth in the ancient archives. Every 1,000 years, the energies of our world grow too isolated, too pure. Without outside influence, we would eventually crystallize completely, beautiful, perfect and utterly stagnant. The outsider brings chaos, change, evolution, Lyra said, her eyes fixed on Elias. But our people feared this change, so they rejected the bond, sending the outsider away. Each time our civilization declined a little further, our connection to the living universe a little more tenuous. Understanding dawned on Elias. So I was brought here deliberately, not by Earth, but by Nixara itself. By the universe, Celine corrected, joining them. The resonator in your ship didn't create the connection. It responded to what was already there. Above them, the 3 moons slid into perfect alignment. The Heartstone and surrounding crystals blazed with sudden intensity, and the barrier between Elias and Lyra shimmered visibly. We have one chance, Lyra said urgently. When the alignment peaks, the thread can either be completed or broken forever. If broken, both worlds suffer, Varen finished. Yours through quantum entanglement, ours through crystalline degradation. We've already seen the effects. Unexplained equipment failures on Earth, structural instabilities here. Elias looked between them in confusion. Why are you helping with this? I thought you wanted Lyra for yourself. A sad smile crossed Varen's features. I want her alive and our world thriving. Sometimes duty means accepting truths we find personally painful. He stepped back. The choice must be made now. Lyra pressed her hand against her side of the barrier. If we complete the bond, it changes everything for both our worlds. The Luminari must accept outside influence, and Earth must acknowledge forces beyond their understanding or control. And us? Elias asked softly. placing his palm against hers, separated only by the thinning barrier. "We become the conduit," she answered, her silver eyes bright despite her weakened state. "Neither fully human nor fully luminary, but something new." The thread made flesh. The moons reached perfect alignment. The heartstone pulsed once, twice, and then emitted a high, clear note that resonated through the chamber. The barrier between them rippled like water. "Choose," Celine urged. "The moment is upon us." Elias looked at Lyra, this being from another world who somehow completed his soul. In her eyes he saw not just desire or even love, but purpose. The universe had drawn them together for reasons beyond romance. Their connection could heal worlds. "I choose you," he said simply. "I choose us." He pressed forward, the barrier resisting for one heartbeat, two, then giving way like a membrane. As their fingers touched, then palms, then bodies, light exploded around them. The heartstone's crystal formations surged upward, encasing them in a cocoon of living crystal that pulsed with the combined rhythm of their heartbeats. Within the crystalline embrace, Elias held Lyra close, feeling her strength returning as their life forces balanced and merged. Her skin regained its rich purple luminescence, while his own began to shimmer with a subtle golden glow. "What happens now?" he whispered against her hair. Lyra looked up at him, her silver eyes now permanently flecked with amber, a visible sign of their merged essence. "Now we teach our worlds how to dance with each other." The crystal cocoon slowly dissolved around them, revealing a transformed chamber. The chaotic growths had realigned into a harmonious pattern that spread outward from where they stood, pulses of energy radiating through the structure and beyond, a new frequency that encompassed both human variability and luminary constancy.